The email arrived on a Tuesday, March 14th. Quick chat about team capacity. 7 words that meant nothing until they meant everything. I read it 3 times before I replied. I had been at the magazine since 2017, 9 years. I was the second fact-checker they ever hired, the first to be made permanent. I built the standards desk from a 1-person afterthought into a 4-person team with sign-off authority on every feature. People called me difficult. I knew what that word meant. It meant I was right, and they didn't like it. Marcus, the editor-in-chief, once told me I was the conscience of the building. He said it at a Christmas party in 2019, after his 3rd glass of champagne. I believed him. I had no reason not to. He had hired me. He had championed my promotion. He had defended the standards desk when the commercial team pushed for faster turnarounds. The magazine operated out of a converted warehouse in King's Cross. Exposed brick, original Eames chairs in the meeting rooms, a coffee machine that cost more than my first car. The kind of place that looks like it values craft until you notice the sales team outnumbers editorial 2 to 1. I used to love that building. The light through the 3rd floor windows, the hum of the printers on deadline day. The feeling that we were making something that mattered. I had watched 2 publications die because they let accuracy slide. One in 2014, one in 2018. Both thought they could cut corners and nobody would notice. Both were wrong. I stayed at the magazine because I believed we were different. Because I believed the work mattered more than the margins. In January, a cover story landed on my desk. An investigation into a wellness brand, the kind that sells supplements to anxious mothers and retreat packages to burned-out executives. The sourcing was thin. 3 anonymous quotes, 2 of which came from the same LinkedIn network. The legal exposure was obvious to anyone who looked. I flagged it. I delayed publication. I requested additional verification, the usual process. The process I had built over 9 years. The process everyone else had learned to respect, sometimes grudgingly. The story ran 3 weeks late. The sales team filed a formal complaint. The wellness brand was one of our largest advertisers. I learned this after, not before. Marcus said nothing at the time. He didn't need to. The silence said enough. 2 months later, in March, I was asked to train a new hire. Her name was Lena, 28, sharp, came from a digital outlet that had collapsed the year before. Just to take some of the pressure off, Marcus said. You've been carrying too much for too long. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that 9 years meant something, that the work I had done had earned me the benefit of the doubt. Lena was pleasant, capable. She asked good questions and took notes by hand, which I appreciated. She reminded me of myself at that age, hungry, careful, determined to get it right. I started writing process documents I had never been asked to write before. The complete methodology for source verification, the decision tree for legal escalation, the contact list I had built over 9 years, every PR who would actually pick up the phone, every lawyer who understood what we did and why it mattered. I was copied on fewer emails. Small things at first. A thread about a feature I would normally have been consulted on. A scheduling change I heard about secondhand. Meetings appeared in Lena's calendar that did not appear in mine. The Monday editorial meeting moved to a new room. I found out from the catering order. I explained these things away. Of course I did, because explaining them away is easier than looking directly at what they mean. Because looking directly at them would mean admitting that everything I had built was being dismantled while I watched. The requests for my sign-off became requests for the standards desk to sign off. My name stopped appearing in subject lines. Lena started attending meetings I had been told I didn't need to come to anymore. They were streamlining, Marcus said, making things more efficient, streamlining. I had heard that word before. I knew what it meant in other contexts. I knew what it meant when it was applied to departments and desks and people who asked too many questions. June. I was reviewing Lena's training notes. She had been keeping them in a shared folder, organized and thorough. I opened a document labeled Process Handover V3 to check her progress. The folder also contained her drafts. I should not have opened them. I knew that even as I clicked. But I had built this desk. I had given it 9 years of my life. I had a right to know what was happening to it. There was a forwarded email chain. Marcus to Lena. Subject line, September timeline. Do you feel ready to run the desk solo by September? Ideally, we'd have full handover complete by end of August, so we can announce the restructure before Q4. The email was dated February 28th, 2 weeks before Lena was introduced to me as a new hire. 2 weeks before I was told she was coming to share the workload. I read it 4 times. I minimized the window. I opened it again. The date did not change. I did not confront Marcus. What would I say? I found an email I wasn't supposed to see, and it confirmed something I already knew. He would deny it, or worse, he would explain it. He would tell me it wasn't personal, that the industry had changed, that I would land somewhere better. He would mean it, probably. That was the worst part. He would genuinely believe he was doing the right thing. I finished Lena's training with the same rigor I would bring to anything else. I documented my processes, my contacts, my institutional knowledge, all of it. I made the handover document comprehensive. I made it so good that whoever used it would never need to call me. I made it perfect because I didn't know how to do anything less. In August, I was offered a redundancy package. They called it a restructure. Voluntary was the word they used, though we both knew what would happen if I didn't volunteer. I took the money. I signed the NDA. I cleared my desk on a Friday afternoon when most of the office was already at the pub. Lena sent me a message that evening. Thank you for everything. I learnt so much. I didn't reply. I didn't know what I would say. 6 months later, I saw it on Twitter. The magazine had published a retraction. A celebrity profile. Someone famous enough that the mistake made news. A quote that had been fabricated by a source who didn't exist. Basic verification failures. The kind of thing I would have caught in 10 minutes. Lena's name was on the byline as approving editor. I did not feel vindicated. I did not feel righteous. I felt like I had left a building that was already on fire, and someone I trained was still inside. Someone who had done nothing wrong except take a job that was offered to her. I used to think that doing the work well would be enough, that if you built something valuable, the institution would protect it because protecting it was rational. I thought I was indispensable. Not because of ego, because of evidence. I had built something that worked, something that mattered, something that kept the magazine out of court and kept the readers trusting what they read. I know now that institutions do not make rational decisions. They make survival decisions. Marcus wasn't betraying me. He was 18 months from a buyout that would secure his pension and his legacy. The commercial partners wanted faster turnarounds, fewer legal delays, fewer people like me asking difficult questions about sourcing and verification and whether we were sure. He probably told himself I would land somewhere better. He probably believed it. The magazine is still publishing. Lena is still there, as far as I know. The retraction was a one-day story. Nobody remembers it now. Nobody connects it to the restructure that happened 6 months before. Nobody asks whether the two things might be related. I work freelance now, consulting. I help smaller outlets build fact-checking processes they cannot afford to staff full-time. The money is worse. The hours are unpredictable. But nobody asks me to train my replacement. Nobody tells me I'm difficult when they mean I'm right. Sometimes I wonder if I should have fought harder. If I should have made noise, sent emails to the board, talked to journalists. But I was tired, 9 years tired. And I knew how those stories end. The whistle gets blown. Everyone nods sympathetically. Nothing changes. The people who stayed keep their heads down and hope they're not next. The handover document is still in their shared drive. I checked.